coming to you live from just outside the swamp of the nation's capital. Get ready for invigorating talk, commentary, and debate on the issues affecting your life. Grab your favorite drink. It's Nightcaps with Nate. Now, here's Nate.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Nightcaps with Nate. I'm Nate.
And I'm Natalie.
And we're here with a very special guest today. His name is Kareem Jackson. He is one of my former soldiers, a friend, and he has to be on the show because he's black and Republican, and he kind of wanted to discuss, hey, what is it like to be a person of color and sometimes face the stigmatization from wokesters like Natalie. So Kareem, hopefully you're back off mute. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
He lives in Florida, so if you don't live in Florida and you're watching this and you're like where we're at, stuck in a house, you know, I wish I was in Florida. I'd be out golfing.
No, not in Florida. We on lockdown too.
Oh, well, they got our golf courses open in West Virginia because our governor, he owns Greenbrier, which is a huge PGA Tour golf course. So he made sure golf courses were exempt from the lockdown.
Oh, okay.
That's called leadership.
It's a great governor, sound like. Is he a Democrat or Republican?
He was a Democrat until Trump won, and then he switched over to Republican.
Oh, see, he know what time it is.
That's right. And what are you drinking there?
Just a little Moscato.
Moscato? All right. I hope you got a lot of it with you.
I got the hard stuff, too, on reserve in the back. So
okay, I got Bacardi and Diet, almost like usual. That's my my go-to. And Natalie, what do you got?
I've got Moscato as well. I've got this. It's a yellowtail Moscato.
Yellowtail.
Yes.
Okay. Now Moscato's like a sweet wine, right?
Yeah.
So when you knew me in the Army back in the day, well, Minnesota is when I started kind of drinking again. But for 7 years, I didn't drink. And so when I went back to just trying it out, I went and found that Moscato. And that was the worst hangover I think I ever had in my life.
Oh, man. Well, you know, sweet.
Apple juice.
What's that?
It tastes like apple juice.
I thought it tasted like grape juice, but whatever. But yeah, it's very sweet. But
yeah, sweet alcohol normally do that to you.
Yeah.
Sugar content.
All right, so for those that haven't watched the show, usually I start off with a little bit of news. We'll do some commentary, and then we're going to get into Kareem's story, which is really the focal point of tonight's show. But I'd like to go through the news. First of all, this didn't make the slides, but I've gotten a lot of stuff on Facebook. Right before I got on this show, apparently Governor Whitmer of Michigan, Democrat, they always screw up and do Democrats after Republicans after we fix it. But anyways, so she extended this lockdown, and now it's such a lockdown that when you go to Walmart, or they have a store called Myers up there, when you go to Meijer or Walmart, apparently they're going to rope off all the sections that is not food or medicine. So apparently the lawn and garden or the toy section is a vector for the virus in Governor Whitmer's mind. And here's a lady who wouldn't even allow us to use hydroxychloroquine, but, her answer to it is that you can't go to the lawn garden section. What do you think, Natalie? You can defend that one.
Again, with the coronavirus, I understand her reasoning. This is a serious thing. It's so serious that businesses are going out of business because of it. And so I feel like that if it is that serious where people are going out of business, that shouldn't we take it seriously? Shouldn't we not do it halfway? But and the other side of it, Easter is this Sunday. What a time to do it. I feel a little bit, I feel sorry for people who are, getting their Easter stuff together.
All right.
But
well, I'm sure they'll conveniently put candy and baskets together. But look, if you're that stir crazy at home, you need to fill the population with stuff to do so that they don't want to go hang out at Walmart and Meijer. So you leave the lawn and garden open so that you can get your freaking lawn supplies and go out and you can do lawn work. I tell you what, I live in a nice neighborhood, right? I've never seen it look so nice in my life. Well, I've only been here 3 years, but it looks really nice because people are actually out there doing their lawns. They're bored. Why would you shut that down? That's just stupid. And if we're so worried about businesses, then why did the Democrats block the $250 billion extension to the small business loan program today?
Oh, wow.
Sorry, that was on the side.
You did that.
Yeah, it was on the news.
Bringing it up.
Yeah. That was the blind side. Poor Natalie.
I think they did it
You
more or
can
less.
send me a link to that, and then I can figure it out. But I'm sure that, listen, Democrats, there is no party, and there's no, the left-leaning side is for small business. We are the ones, yes, we are. We're the ones who want
tax
breaks.
the hell out of small business.
No, listen, we are the ones who want breaks for small business. We are the ones who want, right now, the hot topic is that we took all of our bailout money and we gave it to corporations where it would have been better spent with small business and directly to the person. So,
that's more of that class warfare. So listen, the last bailout was bipartisan. It did go to small business and went to people. You're going to get a $1,200 check. Kareem's getting his $1,200. His wife's getting her $1,200.
It's not enough. They're giving billions of dollars to corporations.
Yeah, to keep people employed. Yes, we have to do that because when this is over, we have to get the businesses running again. Bottom line is that you can ask any small business owner in, say, even Minnesota, which is kind of a purple state. But how about California, Illinois, any of those Democrat states, and you tell me that the Democrats are out for the small business, all the red tape, regulation, and taxes.
They do have red tape and they have regulations. But the thing is so a lot of times people will go into small business and they'll go into it with they really can't afford to go into it. They really can't afford it, but they go into it anyway. And so as soon as you put any kind of regulation in, which is good regulation, they immediately go out of business because they couldn't afford it in the first place. Well, my answer to them is make sure that you're prepared before you go into business in the first place. Then we won't, because the regulation that we put in, a lot of times, 90% of the time, is good regulation that needs to be in place.
No. Let me answer that real quick because
if a small business goes under because they have to pay a $15 an hour wage, maybe they can't afford to go and be in business anyway.
Jesus, that's the most. You're right, and you're against big corporations. You just spoke the line of every big corporation that doesn't want a small business competing against them. Guess what? Small businesses are entrepreneurs. It's very risky as it is. We don't need their government. We, the people, the government, stepping in and making it any harder than what it is because the engine of growth in America is small business. They are the ones that are hiring people.
So are you against the minimum wage or raising the minimum wage?
I am for states doing the minimum wage because states know the cost of living. The minimum wage for Arkansas or Nevada does not need to be the same as New York City or Los Angeles. So every state and community should do their own minimum wage. All right, let's go on to the actual things. Good sideshow. Now let's get on to the slideshow. That's my rap, my $1 million rhyme right there. All right, missing absentee ballots tied to voters in Oshkosh and Appleton. So basically, they just did a bunch of mail-ins over there for the Wisconsin primary, and lo and behold, 3 buckets of ballots were found in some warehouse for the U.S. Postal Service. Now, remember, the Democrats are pushing that this whole election coming up will be by mail-in. But Democrats conveniently forget that dead people tend to vote for Democrats. And if they can't even find 30,000 missing emails, count votes in Iowa, or find ballots in rural Wisconsin, how in the hell are 300 million people or 200 million people going to vote by mail coming in November?
Well, have you thought about, the military, the military votes, and the military has to vote by what? An absentee ballot. So, this is the same thing, but people just you can't go down, you can't get to the booths, you can't right now. So why?
The military is out serving their country across the world. They have to mail in their ballot. We have to give them the right to vote since they're fighting for it.
People are at home, they don't want to get sick. That's a valid reason right now.
But how are we going to protect the integrity of the election? Okay, let me tell you. I have Grandma Betty living in Georgia, okay? Whitley's sweet old grandmother. She's got a granddaughter living in her basement. I won't name her name so she's not embarrassed on Facebook Live, just in case any of her friends are watching. She's very liberal. You don't think that maybe, just maybe, her with her woke desire and her youth and enthusiasm to get rid of Trump, that she's not going to whoop and sign Grandma Betty's little name and vote for her? Grandma Betty, she wouldn't even know that she ever even got a ballot because she's kind of old. She's, it'd be too late. She'd be like, man, I never got my ballot. Oh, well, there's always the next election.
Okay.
That's how voter fraud happens, and it happens on the left.
That would be very few and far between. Usually we have more of a problem with people not wanting to vote at all. So, a gung-ho person who wants to vote twice, and the other thing is
yes, I'm glad I got this on video.
That still counts, even though she's taking her place, that still counts as one vote.
Now, I like President Obama, okay? I didn't like him as president, but I like him as a person. But he slipped up one time just like you did and said, hey, go out and vote often. And it kind of like bit him in the butt because, the whole thing about Democrats and voter fraud, and they're against voter ID. Kareem, what do you think about voter ID in elections?
You were talking presidential, or are you talking about for the Republican? I mean, for the House, like governors, senators, representatives.
How do you feel about somebody showing up to the booth and they have to present a driver's license or an ID card?
I think that's acceptable.
What about rural areas? What about areas where people are working 2 or 3 jobs, like in Detroit or Chicago?
Where they lose their ID card?
Yeah.
Well, for those areas, maybe those areas should adapt to the people in the area instead of voting.
We're talking about statewide laws.
No, we're talking about provisional ballots would have to be cast.
Illinois. So Michigan just put in a voter ID a few years ago.
Good.
Put in a voter ID law, and it was across Michigan altogether. So there are people who may not have their ID with them, may not have their driver's license with them, and it's going to hinder them from voting.
It will not. They cast what's called a provisional ballot. And then if the election is so close that it comes down to those ballots, then you have a chance to go in and show your ID later or get your ID.
Here in Florida, they return you away from the polls if you're not registered to vote 30 days prior.
Well, yeah, so that's normal. That's just that you can have voter rolls, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, they should have some rules in place. Anything we do, we have to have some provisions in place prior to it.
I mean, it's pretty important, right? Since we are electing the president of the United States, the leader of the free world.
I think.
But at the same time, like I said, so Democrats and Republicans alike, they don't think in terms of what's right and what's wrong, and bringing an ID. They think about things statistically, like as an umbrella. So they think, they think from the top to say, well, if we put in a voter ID law, then X thousand people will not show up.
That's not true.
Statistically, that is how they think.
We think statistically, Natalie.
Listen, I said Republicans and Democrats.
I know, but that's not true for voter ID. Statistically, we're thinking.
It is true for voter ID. It's especially true for voter ID.
We're thinking statistically, we're thinking how many illegal immigrants can we keep from voting in our elections? Yeah, statistically.
There are going to be, and it's usually poorer people who usually, they will probably not have an ID, if they can't afford it or they can't, for whatever reason. It's usually that population, and they know that those people are going to be the ones who aren't going to have an ID, and they're going to show up to the booth, and they're not going to be able to vote, and they are happy about it. Because
why poor people are moving away from the Democrat Party?
Because they are marginalized, and they are the people. And Democrats is the party that usually help.
No, the Democrats are the party that says you're a victim.
That's the reputation of the Democratic Party.
That's right.
And I think Democrats only, glad we have a Republican and I can speak freely, but I feel Democrats only care about poor people when they want their vote. Then once they're elected, all those issues and things that they promise, we never see them.
Well, let's look at history. Okay. FDR, the socialist, he's the one who came up with Social Security. He's the one who came up with those social programs. Let's go into the future. Ronald Reagan, Republican, probably the most well-known Republican president, besides maybe Bush, but he's the god of the Republicans. And Ronald Reagan is the one that took out fruits and vegetables out of elementary school cafeterias and put in ketchup and called ketchup a vegetable.
That was not Ronald Reagan, by the way. That was supposedly under Bush Sr. And you know what's funny is they called Bush Sr. such a radical when he was in office, and they called Bush Jr. a radical when he was in office. Every time Republicans in office, they call him radical. Let's go back to what Here's the problem with the Democrat Party, and this is why a lot of poor people are moving away from them. They tell you you're too stupid to have an ID card. You're too stupid to get into college on your own. You're too stupid to do this. You're too stupid to do that. Pretty soon people are like, I don't mind being a victim and getting all that free money, but would you quit calling me stupid or incompetent or marginalized?
But I echo the voice of Democrats, and when did I ever just call them stupid? I said
you infer that they're stupid. You infer that they're stupid, that they can't get an ID card.
No, don't interrupt me. I just said that they work 2 or 3 jobs. They were and that is why they don't have time to get to the booth and have everything ready, have their IDs and stuff like that. And I said that they live and sometimes they can't afford it. When did I ever use the word stupid? And I mirrored.
You guys infer. You infer that people are stupid. Not you personally, but the Democrat Party infers that people are stupid. Oh, this will affect the poor most and this and that. I mean, come on.
No.
Everybody has at least. First of all, if you're too stupid to get an ID card, you're probably too dumb to pick the president of the United States anyway.
They're not stupid at all. They have less time because all their time is eaten up by working 2 or 3 jobs, and they have less resources and availability to do it.
Hey.
Well, I can't speak for all communities, but I know urban and black communities, they have laws that you have to have an ID just to walk down the street. If the police stop you, you have to have an ID. So the ID is like a basic necessity that you have to have, and asking for an ID is I don't think that
seems reasonable, except that it's unconstitutional because the vote is a constitutional right.
Yeah, that's why we have provisional ballots.
It doesn't say in the Constitution or in the laws. It does not say that you have to have as long as you have the right to vote, as long as you have an ID card. No, it says that you have the right to vote. That is all that it says.
But every constitutional right has limits on it. Okay? You have a constitutional right to bear arms. Doesn't mean you can go get a bazooka and carry it down the street. You have the constitutional right to free speech. Doesn't mean you can yell fire in a movie theater. All right, let's move on. Drink wine, Natalie. You're getting angry.
I'm not angry.
Getting angry.
Angry is
I'm passionate.
Passionate. All right. So the next story has a good news and a bad news element to it. This will lighten it up a little bit, hopefully. Bad news. Coronavirus traces are found in Massachusetts wastewater at levels far higher than expected. That's the bad news. Good news is that it's pretty much deactivated by the time it goes through your shit. So, but the other bit of good news is that they'll be able to see, hopefully, and infer how widespread coronavirus already is, because a lot of people think that a lot of people have already caught it and passed it. And so if that's the case, then we're closer to what's called herd immunity, where 80% of us or more get it, then nobody else can get it anymore because it doesn't have anywhere to transmit. Do you have coronavirus in your shit, Natalie?
If I do, you do.
Do they have coronavirus in Florida in their crap?
Man, I have no idea. Nothing. I can't even comment on this coronavirus stuff. I don't even think the people talking about it know what they're talking about.
That is 100% true. I mean, it's new and novel. I'll say that Florida, overall, they're not getting hit as hard as, say, other states like New York, New Jersey, or California.
Yeah, and that's kind of strange to me because, we have a lot of the cruise ships that port in Miami.
Yeah, and old people all around Florida.
That's retired here. So could it be the warm weather? Because it's been 80, 90 degrees. Yeah. Could it be that?
Well, it's supposed to be warm and humid. So if it's humid and warm, then yes, that's what you have to have kind of both to really kill the virus out. I like to say, and it's anecdotal, that maybe it's just good preparedness at your state level by your government.
Like in New England. New England, it really.
Unlike in New England, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and all those Democrat states. I did a thing in the top 10 states with the most deaths per capita. That way, you make it fair per 100,000 or per million people. 9 of the top 10, in fact, the top 9 of the top 10 were all led by Democrats, and that I will admit that's a stretch.
And I also have been doing research, and the top 10 most prepared are Democrat.
Yeah, off Wallet Hub. That's hey, you know what?
The Wallet Hub.
I'm going off results. Hey,
mblinks.com.
Hey, raise your hand if you were in the Army.
Website.
Raise your hand if you were in the Army. Go ahead, Natalie. Raise it too, because you were in the Army, 101st, right? Results, baby. Not what's written down. Results.
I know results.
And if you're in Army recruiting, you know you can go from 0 to 0 in one day.
Yeah, it's a what have you done for me lately business.
That's right. What have you done for me? All right, this next one is where maybe somebody took it just a little too far. I'm going to be showing this video. You guys won't be able to see it, but the viewers will. I sent you guys a link earlier. So go ahead and go on mute for a minute.
All right.
You give me my phone! Get away from her! Oh my God! Get off of her! Seriously, get off of her! Go!
Okay. Yeah, we're leaving. Please, let's not cuss at each other. No, I'm not calling you anything, sir. Just don't talk to us with this
right here. Hey, don't touch. Hey, do not touch. Hey, oh my God! What the is your problem? You do not touch. Do not. You give me my phone! Get away from her! Oh my God! Get off of her! Seriously, get off of her!
So, yeah, that's a little bananas, man. That happened because bottom line. Oh, you guys can come off mute now too. That guy, he was an anesthesiologist, and he's now facing charges. He also was placed on administrative leave. He basically attacked like this group of females that were hanging out. Looks like they were having some wine or something. I understand where his frustration could come from. His frustration is, hey, I'm seeing this crap day in and day out, and you guys aren't taking it seriously. You know, get the hell away from each other. They probably lipped off, you know how teenagers are, or young adults, and he probably took it in his own hands. You know, I don't think anybody has the right to put their hands on another, even if you are a doctor.
I don't think so either, but this is a real intense time, you know. You probably could be standing in line in a grocery store checking out. If somebody breathed too hard on your neck, I'm sure you would probably react a certain way that you probably wouldn't.
I'd be like, yo, step back 6 feet. Where's my bubble space, right? But I wouldn't put my hands on somebody. Now, if they came in and intentionally, you know, they tried to cough on me, sneeze on me, like them assholes that were sneezing and coughing on fruits and vegetables in the store.
Oh, right? Man.
Then, yeah, I'd probably put my hands on them. But
well, if you seen somebody, would you tackle somebody if you seen them coughing and sneezing on fruits and vegetables in the store?
And hold them for the police? That's what happened. And I don't know. You know, because you do it and then, you know, the police might be cool about that. Hey, thanks for the help. Or they might take you to jail for tackling them over something. You know, you never know. And I just don't want to I don't want to pay for a lawyer. Even if I'm right, I just don't want to pay for a lawyer. It's like, you know, like I carry a gun sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll use it if I have to defend myself. But do I really ever want to pull it out unless I really have to? Because I might be right. But man, that's going to be about $20,000 in legal bills minimum to prove that I was that I was innocent, you know?
Well, this Florida, down here, you stand your ground.
Yeah, that's not even foolproof, as you see. There's been some prosecution still.
We'll talk about it later. But yeah, I mean,
think you're on mute, Natalie, if you're trying to talk.
I hope any responsible individual that's carrying a firearm would feel the same way as you. But man, we see craziness all the time. People acting irrational. Yeah. So it's not a surprise to me.
You brought up stand your ground because you live in Florida. So how do you feel as a Republican about, you know, I don't know, past stand your ground things that have happened in Florida?
Like Trayvon Martin and killings and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
Like I said, I carry a firearm, and I don't feel that just because you have one, you go messing with somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's for self-defense for you and your family. So you don't go out there and pick a situation, and then when somebody responds to you in a way that you're uncomfortable now, so now you're trying to get out of it, to use that to get out of it. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
but
don't be an aggressor, man. Just because you got a gun, you don't become an asshole.
Yeah, you go about your business. do what you're supposed to do.
So
but you're gonna go
George
out there
Zimmerman was a neighborhood watch guy. Here's the deal: nobody knows because nobody was there. And the one or two witnesses were there, said, yeah, Trayvon tackled him. But you know what? Some dude was creeping on me. I'd tackle him too.
Well,
exactly.
but George Zimmerman got in trouble again a second time. Like close to a year later for being an aggressor. And so it's kind of a little bit in his nature to be like that. But do you feel like that that's racially motivated, what he did, or do you think that he was just an idiot?
Like I said, I grew up in all black urban project areas, so we didn't have to deal with the diversity of having whites and blacks in the same community. So if you was coming over in our community, you were white, either you were law enforcement or the postman or a school teacher. So we didn't have to deal with stuff like that unless it was coming from the police. But in this particular situation, I'm sure there was some racial profiling in there. You see a young black kid with a hood on your head walk through the neighborhood, and he went too far. Now the legal system didn't do what they were supposed to do, but at the same time, I don't have nothing against stand your ground or holding firearms or
you don't throw the baby out of the bathwater, man. You reform the law, maybe make it a little tougher where you don't really have to retreat, but man, you're not the initial aggressor, but that's a whole nother story. Where'd you grow up, in Chicago or Dallas?
I grew up in Chicago.
All right,
and then
so
I went to college.
My next story is about Chicago.
Okay, well, I just want to say something real fast.
All right, go ahead. This wasn't planned, but go.
Okay, well, of course it's not planned.
We live.
You were on the show.
No, I know. But, I'm saying that it wasn't a planned topic, but for the live show.
Okay, I want to say something just because we have a special guest here, and so I don't usually have this kind of conversation often. But I just want to say that the problem that I have with stand your ground. And I feel like in Florida or whatever state that does it, the problem with I really do believe that there is still racism in this country. I don't know if you agree or not, but that's
please.
And just a minute. And so I feel like if you have a law like that, there are going to be lots of Trayvon Martins, and you're going to have a lot of opportunity for people just because of fear, for no other reason than fear. They'll go ahead and they'll shoot or whatever. They'll say, "Hey, I was just standing my ground," and then they'll make a case for themselves, and that's the end of it. That is the problem that I have with it, and that's why I feel like
stand your ground. Okay, stand your ground came along because
let me just say one thing before we move on.
Okay.
But to me, that works both ways for blacks, a person and white. That's what we're talking about, different races. We can arm ourselves too. I have a concealed carry. We can arm ourselves too and conduct ourselves in the same manner. And,
Yeah, but we all know, and this is the one time I'm going to agree with Natalie. Can I say something?
I want to say something real fast.
Go ahead.
Here is the problem. You get to talk like the whole show. I'm going to talk for a second. So here's the problem, though. Statistically speaking, black people, compared to white people, they receive harsher convictions, same profile, same criminal background, they statistically receive harsher convictions than white people. And so the problem that I have is that goes both ways. But if you have a black man who's armed who shoots a white person, and a white person who's armed and shoots a black person, I believe, just from the statistics, I think that the black person is is most likely to get a harsher conviction.
Okay. So
and I agree with you, and I don't have any statistical data to prove that, but that's just the unspoken norm of America across the world, not just here in Florida. It happens all the time, but I think we should save this topic for another show. That way we can go into more depth because our host here, he wants to
feel uncomfortable.
I'm truly comfortable with speaking it, but I know we got to complete this dialogue. And if I go in depth on this subject, I don't want to get cut off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
because you won't be cut off. You're our guest. We'll just cut off Natalie. But,
right. Yeah. So I understand. It's happening in all over the world. Police shootings, and things like that aren't happening. But we need to, as a community, Black community, need to learn to work within the law and utilize the same opportunities that I guess we're talking about white and Black, that they have and work together. The problem, my only thing with my people, we got a long way to do. We need to learn how to work together and continue to grow as a people and stop worrying about what things are holding us back. When we unite and we work as a unit, we're unstoppable, and we can make it an even playing field. But the thing is, we need to work together first. So if I wanted to take a political aspect of how to kind of stop all this and make an improvement, I would try to work with my people first so we could grow as a unit, and then we push forward, and then still defend ourselves at the same time.
And I will admit that due to the crime rates of the inner cities, that yes, if a police stops me and I tell them I have a gun, they're going to politely take it off me, check my license. But we saw with Castillo, I think was his name, in Minneapolis, where that didn't work out so well for him. He said, hey, I got a concealed carry permit, and the cop told him, he said, I'm going to get my wallet. And what did he do? They shot him. That is a police reform thing. That is a police training thing.
Yeah.
All right. Cops need to quit being so scared. If you're too scared to do your job and treat everybody equally, then you shouldn't be a cop.
Well, let's put more. Let's do a demographic base when we place our police officers. Let's put more Blacks in Black communities where they're more comfortable to function and kind of deal with situations.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Just like they put a Somali police officer. They put a Somali police officer finally in Minneapolis, where they have a high Somali community, and it builds trust. I totally agree.
But at the same time, when are we going to be beyond this, where we have to put Black, people, Black police officers with Black communities, white people with white? When are we going to be beyond
thanks to your policies on the left, we have broken up the family so much that we have so many fatherless children. And whether you're white, Black, or Hispanic, if you come from a fatherless home, typically, not always, but your rate of
that is such a red herring.
That is not a red herring. If you have parents in the home, kids, 83% chance that you will not grow up in poverty if you have both parents in the home. And so this is an whole other topic, but that's what's wrong with Flint, Baltimore, Chicago, which we're going to go on. It isn't that it's Black or white. It's broken homes and not enough supervision of kids.
Yeah, we could go to Alabama. We could go to Mississippi rural. We could go to South Dakota, North Dakota. There's poverty everywhere, and it you can blame it on food stamps and Section 8. That could be the father, but we have some bigger issues in this country that we have to work on. But
totally
I guess
agree.
from this, we got so many topics we could just spin off from here.
It's just true. We might just have you on every Thursday. Clear your calendar.
Because Natalie got me over here sweating, man, because I'm ready to go in. Barlow Trayvon Martin, man. No, go ahead. Let's keep on pushing.
All right, in Chicago. Next story in Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot has put a curfew on liquor sales starting Thursday after Tuesday night's violence that left 7 people dead and 14 injured, and the inability for some to follow the stay-at-home order. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot has placed a 9 p.m. liquor purchasing curfew starting Thursday. It is a liquor curfew will remain in place during Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's stay-at-home order, she said. So now what's going to happen is people are going to jump on that L train and they're going to leave the city of Chicago and go get their liquor elsewhere, or they'll just all stock up before 9 p.m. What in the hell is this rule going to do?
Well, Chicago, by me being from there, liquor stores close like 2, 3 in the morning. And you're having a good party, man, and it goes till about 11 o'clock, a good quarantine party. You want to make a liquor store run.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, makes sense.
But I understand, the reasonable thing to do would be, hey, the liquor store closes at 9 o'clock. Let me get everything I need for the night before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, then maybe you stay home. Okay, see? I'm glad we got your perspective on. Natalie, you are of no help. Thank you, Kareem. Just messing with you, Natalie.
No. But you know, it's a lot of states that have liquor store hours all year round, like in Dallas. Liquor stores close there at 9 or 10 o'clock during the week.
This is West Virginia. West Virginia, they stay open until 2. And then if you're on base, you can get it 24 hours.
Yeah, and on Dallas, you can't even buy alcohol on Sunday. So
yeah, that's dumb.
You can't in Indiana afternoon.
Afternoon or before noon?
Like at like at 12 o'clock, then you can finally buy alcohol.
Yeah, that's how it is in West Virginia too. It's the church laws. That's what it's supposed to be.
Like that. Yeah. So I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. We got to adapt and overcome.
All right, we got 10 minutes. 10 minutes left, and I want to really discuss your thing here. Let me go through these next few slides. First slide you see is a bunch of African Americans led by Candace Owen, who I love. I kind of have a little crush on her, I guess. But she, a lot of black people are praying over the president. I think that's a great picture. It shows that every president, regardless if it was President Obama, whether it was President Clinton, Bush, or Trump, the president needs your prayers. Then I got a slide here that shows the gender gap in black views on Trump explained. This is from the liberal Vox. 24% of black men now approve of Trump. Just 6% of black women do. They wonder why, because there's a gender gap there. New York Post cited a couple other polls 4 years ago. Candidate Donald Trump pitched to African Americans heading into voting booths was simple. After all these years of Democrat control, what in the hell do you have to lose? While he captured just 8% of the black vote in 2016. Recent polls suggest things could be different this time around. In November, an Emerson poll reported a 34.5% approval rating among black voters, and a January Gallup poll reported a 14% increase in satisfaction over race relationships among Americans while Trump has been president. And then The Hill had a big headline, Trump campaign opening 15 community centers to reach the black voters. What's significant about that is that he is the only Republican who is going after the actual black vote. A lot of it has to do with this lady here, Candace Owens, who has led the walk away #Blexit movement. She says there is no group in America that has been more lied to, more abused, or more taken advantage of by the Democrats than black people. Her premise is that every 4 years, the most atheist party finds religion, goes to their churches, begs for votes, promises a bunch of stuff, and then does not deliver.
Amen.
I got to ask you, first of all, did you grow up a Republican? I mean, were your parents Republican or what?
No, I did not. We wasn't really even, like, I guess I was probably like most black kids. We wasn't really into government. You know, I wasn't into government, law enforcement, anything like that. So, we all had that, not we all, but a majority of us had that mindset that no matter who's in office, they're not going to do nothing for us anyway. So, and I believe the ones in my community that did vote, they voted for Democrats with the understanding that Democrats going to do things for black people, create programs, create opportunities. So that was kind of my knowledge of politics as I grew older.
So how old were you when you decided, you know what? Man, maybe the Republicans have something. When were you? What made you start looking at least into the Republican Party?
All right, I've been in the Army 21 years now. So I served under Clinton, Bush both terms, Obama both terms, and I guess now Trump. So for those 21 years, or probably over 24 years, I've seen a lot of changes, you know, in the military. You know, the roller coaster ride. We have a Republican president. They boost everything. Democratic president, they cut everything. So, you know, the Army has been my livelihood. So, of course, I'm going to go with the party at first that's going to, you know, benefit the livelihood of me and my family. And then I just started looking into it more like, you know, what are they really doing, you know, for our communities? Like, I think Obama was a great thing for black people. I think he just him making president changed the conversation about what a black man could do in America.
Yeah, he can make it.
Anybody can make it. So if you want to, you don't have to go this route or go that route. We have a proven figure that shows you if you do things the right way, play this game, you can become president. Before that was a joke. I think that was the best thing he did for our people. After that, I don't, you know, he did a lot of things for the LGBT communities. That's what they call. You know, so I mean.
So you actually care about minorities and everything. You feel like.
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, well, yeah. So what I mean is so you care about. So you like that President Obama came in, kind of set a new precedent. So you like President Obama, but you because the military has been your livelihood.
Right.
You feel like the Republicans do more for the military, which they do, than Democrats, except that I feel like for veterans, Democrats have done more for veterans.
Absolutely not. Nobody since Trump.
Oh, no. No.
I'm not talking about the military.
Period, no.
About the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Yes, but the Department of Veteran Affairs. When during the Obama years, because I've been a veteran, so I'm a veteran. And I've been a veteran for the last 5 to 8 years. Under Obama, it was a decent system. I mean, it still had a lot of problems, but I mean, it was decent.
Where do you think all the improvements of the VA came from?
I can't even get into the, you know, I have anxiety. I can't even get into the anxiety, you know, get in with a psychiatrist to give me meds for it. I just finally went to a civilian. I'll pay the $30 copay, you know, with my insurance and just get in. Like,
all right. So we got to keep this going, but funding for the VA and choice for the veterans to get your care has dramatically increased under President Trump. But that's a whole nother ball game. When do you?
You know, I just think Democrats should do more for the people, but I think I just think all presidents and politicians they do whatever the lobbyists tell them to do, basically. But they should do more for the people. If you're gonna say you're gonna do all these things, make all these promises, execute them. You know, when Obama was president and he's from out of Chicago, we had so many killings in Chicago during that time that it made me sick.
Yeah, we still do. But let me ask you this. So a lot of people say that Republicans are heartless because we want to have like welfare to work programs and stuff instead of just people, you know, they say that we're heartless. And I say
it's great. It's a great welfare to work program is a great idea.
Right. But a lot of people say that Republicans are evil for that. And what I say is what's more evil is addicting somebody to welfare for their vote and never ever do anything. Because there's an old proverb that says, if you give a man a fish, they'll eat for a day, but you teach a man to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. And I think that welfare to work teaches that person to fish. And just because we're not for welfare for life.
That's a great idea. But here's the one fundamental flaw that Republicans have just in their thinking is that all men were created equal. That is not true. Mentally speaking, all men were not created. You just said yourself that your lawn gear guy is kind of slow. You know,
I didn't say he's slow. I did not say he's slow. He's just not formally educated.
Okay. Well,
but he makes more money than me.
But anyway, but no, and there are people who are out there who really cannot work themselves up in the world. They really will. Like if they remain 40 hours a week, you know.
Do you believe in our Constitution?
That is an accomplishment because there are people with different mental capabilities.
That's different, though.
There you go. That's my problem. That's my problem with the Democrat Party. My Democrat Party says, hey, you're black, you're stupid. Or you're Mexican, you're dumb. Or this and that. The Democrat Party tells people that they're too dumb to make it, and that's just not true. The Constitution says that we were all created equal. We were all created equal under the Constitution.
That all people were created equal in that aspect? You are talking to a mother who has
special needs child. I know.
Children.
What I'm saying is that she's the exception, not the rule.
And I have seen autistic children across the spectrum, from everybody from the high functioning Aspie all the way down to my daughter Natalie, who is severe.
Right.
Okay, I have seen it. And this is not in the realm of autism.
Stop, Natalie. You're internalizing it. What I'm saying is that minus the special needs children, obviously. I'm talking about segments of the population. We are created equal. Unless you have a medical condition, we are created equal.
People,
you got a medical issue or
go ahead,
Kareem.
Every time that you see people who are in poverty and they remain in poverty for years and years, get into their medical chart and you'll find some things.
Oh, I'm sure you can find a reason.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm not saying that. We're talking about a functional person that has the means to get up and go and do everything everybody else can do.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying.
Hold on, Natalie. You can't talk over them.
There's some extenuating circumstances to where, we need to have these programs for people to help them survive and things like that. But there are some people, unfortunately, and I grew up in a community for a long time that use welfare and Section 8 as a career. And then they have kids that do the same thing just to stay on it. And I don't agree with that process. My mother raised 4 boys with no man in the house by herself. She worked hard every day, and she didn't even think about getting welfare. We could have used it, but she was a proud woman like that. And it was a stigmatism attached to utilizing those services. And in some situations, I think she did. But if she would have had a job that provided her with more opportunities to where she could earn the money to take care of her family without it, I'm sure she would have chose that route better.
You know what I like when you talk?
Here's the other problem with the Republicans. The Republicans, they it's like everything is all or nothing. You're either on social programs or you're not on
That's
social
not
programs.
true. We just believe in limits.
States like Massachusetts, states that like Massachusetts, probably the most liberal state in the country. States like Massachusetts, they have kind of build yourself out programs. So everything that you save, your state will match you for it, for a down payment for a home.
Wait, tell me, your state will match you?
Yes.
Somebody's paying for it. The state don't magically get money. Somebody's paying for that.
Okay, fine. Well, anyway, so then as they build themselves up, it's all the way up to like $100,000 a year. But as you build yourself up, that's when you kind of lose your like.
And I agree with that. And that's
your daycare subsidy. You start losing your.
All right,
program.
get to the point. What's your point?
It's with enough money, like each time you step up, to where it makes sense. Well, I'd make more money if I just stayed in this $40,000 or $30,000.
I'll tell you. Okay, you're going long-winded. Let me tell you something. Growing up, and you moved to Grayling, but growing up in Flint, Michigan, then my senior year, junior year, senior year, I used to go hang out on the north side of Flint a lot. And let me tell you what, you would walk in and there were people giving money off their EBT card for cash so they can go buy weed. In fact, I had friends doing it. Okay, people use that as a cash line. I agree that there are some structural reforms that we can make to welfare to include phasing people out. I don't think that just because you get married, you should all of a sudden lose it. It should be phased out. But bottom line, Democrats do not give it. Republicans don't care about rich. Democrats don't care about the poor. They care about staying in power. One party needs you to be self-sufficient. Hold on, Natalie, let me finish. One party wants to addict you so that you stay voting for them. Go ahead, Kareem.
Yeah, so exactly. I don't think, Democrats truly care about the poor. And I don't know if I would say that Republicans don't care about the rich, but those are two different dynamics. But it's some poor white people in America too. I think it's more white people on welfare than it is black.
Yeah, we were poor growing up.
We were on welfare. In sheer numbers, yes, white people actually make up the majority of the rolls. By percentage of population, no, but either way, welfare addiction is not just a black, white, or Hispanic issue. It is a Democrat issue in order to get votes. There is a reason why at the state level, Kentucky and West Virginia still vote Democrat because they love their welfare. And it's mostly white. West Virginia is one of the most white states.
What about all the southern states? Mississippi, Alabama.
Exactly. And so we have to, white, black, purple, Asian, in fact, what ethnicity has the least amount of welfare usage? Asians. And they make up the smallest part of America. And they came over on boats just like other immigrants.
Okay, listen.
Well, that's another conversation too, because that's another conversation too, because a lot of immigrants that come to this country, I don't want to offend nobody that could be watching, but they have special programs and like my community alone, it's an Indian community. I got a lot of Indians that live in my community, Appalachian community, And these people come here and they get special loans and get to open gas stations and businesses that people that are homegrown, born and raised in America don't have the opportunity to take advantage of.
Well, a lot of that is rumor. The fact is that Asians, Southeast Asians, the Indian population, the people from Korea and stuff, what they do is they all live together and they take care of themselves and they all work to make sure that the younger generation ends up in school and stuff. And it's a very, very tight-knit community. They have a very tight family bond. Go ahead, Natalie.
So that's the secret sauce right there.
I would say that there's a way for everybody to come together when it comes to the social programs. When if we had more build your way out type of social programs where they match you, but to where like, if you go from $50,000 a year to $60,000 a year, it doesn't make more sense to stay at $50,000 because you lose X amount of, but you still get some of it, and it makes more sense to actually keep earning higher. I think that that's a way that Republicans and Democrats can come together. So, because the fact of the matter is we have to have social programs. Everybody who's sitting here talking has been either as a child or as an adult or whatever. Everybody
there's no problem with a help out. A helping hand up is no problem.
I'm not discussing with the Democrats and the Republicans right now as a whole right now, because we're going through this pandemic right now, and instead of them working together, they're still trying to one up each other in the middle of a pandemic and working together to help this country.
Yeah,
they need to put that shit to the side. Put that stuff to the side.
No, you could say
and focus on getting the country back on track and then finish that fight.
All right,
I agree with that.
Thank you. We're all agreed. Now, I want this to turn more into an interview
style. This is an election year, so remember the past records.
Okay. So, anyway, Kareem, let's talk more about you, because that's why I really wanted to bring you on, not talk about all this. We're past the politics hour, okay? No more political stuff. So, let me ask you, do you know who Candace Owen is?
No, you just brought me light to that. I'm gonna have to research her and
you just look up the hashtag Blexit, BLEXIT. Big movement going on right now with her. Obviously, Kanye West kind of came over, went back, came over. Poor
Kanye
guy.
West doing some great things too with prison reform. Him and his wife. Shout out to Kanye.
And shout out to the West. I'll say the West, Kanye and Kim Kardashian West. They are the ones that influenced President Trump to sign prison reform. And early, and this is where I am a Republican. Well, actually, I vote Republican. I'm actually an independent or libertarian. But in criminal justice school, way back in my undergrad, I actually did a paper on criminal justice reform and the cost that it costs to incarcerate all these nonviolent criminals, which is just absolutely stupid. And the fact that we were ruining generations of poor white, poor black, and poor Hispanic kids because they grew up without dads because dad was locked away for something that he could have had an ankle monitor on and work reform. I'm not getting into that debate because I see Natalie, she's chomping at the bit. But what I'm trying to do is say that thanks to the West, President Trump has actually signed prison reform, criminal justice reform. Who else? Do you have any other friends that are? Tell me what's said to you, and what kind of stigma do you receive for being black and Republican, just amongst people you know.
So if I tell somebody I'm a Republican, right, black people, which I don't care, I'm a grown man, but if I say I'm a Republican, the first thing they do is tell you to Trump. Fuck Trump is the first thing they say, and I'm like, come on, man, it ain't. Trump is just one aspect of the Republican Party, you know what I'm saying?
But not just that.
But he's the president.
He was mentioned in every rap song. He was loved in the black community before he became president.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, well, I think it's how he articulates himself. I think is when he was running, a lot of people. The country went through a shift. We had 8 years of Obama, a black president, which was crazy for America. After Obama's term was over and Trump took over, I just think a lot of, maybe a lot of white people in America were just ready to see something different, and they tied themselves to Trump. And a lot of those people that tied themselves to Trump, he just separated himself from them because it was all about getting votes. We had a lot of races and, KKK people coming out and just a lot of crazy things going on. And had he had separated himself from those situations, maybe it'd be different views earlier. And he didn't. He allowed it to go on. He allowed it to happen.
Well, he had to allow.
So he has to be.
He had to allow it to go on because of the First Amendment. But what he did wrong was he didn't separate and say, "Hey, I disavow any white supremacist who supports me." And and that's what I would have done. But you could see how things. I mean, things can be taken out of context. I got in trouble in the Army, as you famously know, for saying "baby mama." I didn't mean it.
And he came out with the wall thing and all the hard stuff about the Hispanic community. That was real. His biggest thing is he just he speak what's on his mind, and
sometimes I can bite you in the butt, huh?
Yeah,
Although I do agree with him about illegal immigration. He just needs to he needs to be pro legal immigrant and say it more often instead of always saying what's wrong with it.
But remember, at the time, it was Hillary Clinton or Trump.
Oh.
Come on, man. There was no way I was gonna vote for no Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I love her husband, great president.
Yeah,
but
I like Bill.
You weren't gonna vote for
Bill, my boy, man.
No?
Bill, my favorite Democrat.
What So I introduced you online to the Jasper, friend of mine who's down in Atlanta, and he welcomes it. But he gets out there, he posts a position, and people from his own community in Atlanta, there, the black community there, they hammer that guy. Jasper, you remember I tagged you in him?
Oh yeah.
I plan on having him on too because he really, really, really takes a beating from his own community.
I mean, I got a lot of buddies that I got a few black buddies that but most of them are prior service.
Yeah.
Most of them serve. Yeah. In fact, all of them serve. Whether they're 20 years,
well,
4 or 5 years.
In Minneapolis, and he actually came to my defense during my my little snafu with the Army. But he was from.
I did too.
Yep, but he was from Chicago as well. But what he did was he moved to Minneapolis and started a business and basically became very wealthy and said, "Hey, I was never." The idea in Chicago where he grew up was that my mom was on welfare, I'll be on welfare. You just didn't leave Chicago. You always stayed in Chicago. It's kind of like New York City. The big cities, you stay there and you just carry on the tradition of either a low-wage job or gangbanging. You didn't go to college. And he made it and he became a Republican. My goal, because we're going to have to wrap this up, my goal is to get a Hispanic. Oh, go ahead, Natalie. I can see you got 1 minute, Natalie.
You just make it sound like as people work their way up in the world, they get better. They become Republican.
They typically do.
No, they don't. Okay, what about President Obama? He's the prime example of what. I mean, he wasn't a Republican.
He's a politician. Is different. He was ideological bent.
I got a whole nother conversation about Obama. I think Obama is better for the people not being the president. But I don't know if he'll ever come out and take that role as a leader.
You think that President Obama was better as a president than he was
because prior to Obama becoming president, I think he did a great job. He was
the best president that we have of the last 20 years.
Obama was a great president, but what I'm saying is I'm more uplifting the people. Obama was such an eloquent leader. Persona that if he started off as civil rights activist, and he would have been we talk about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X.
He was an excellent orator. And the best orator since him. If you ever go back,
what he would have did for us as a people by uniting us in civil rights. Oh man, I think he could have.
Yeah, he was a community organizer. He was a community
organizer. Which is an activist.
Yeah.
And he did a great job as that. And then
Have you ever heard Martin Luther King Jr. speeches besides I Have a Dream? The other speeches we've all heard I Have a Dream speech, but did you ever hear Martin Luther King's sermons?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
he was amazing. Amazing Republican, by the way. Amazing speaker. You know, a lot of people, some people, my wife says, oh, I thought Obama was boring. And she doesn't care. She's not, that political. I thought when I would hear Obama speak, my twin brother and I, we both be like, man, I'd almost go change my registration because he just made you so comfortable.
Yeah.
But and then you got President Trump. I like Trump's policies better, but Trump, I went off on him last night or the night before, Natalie. Tell him, remember I told him, shut up and lead. The guy steps on his own message. He's an asshole. He sounds like an asshole when he speaks.
He is not. He's just not like.
Hold on, man. Hold on. That's my commander-in-chief you're talking about now.
I know. I love Trump. Don't get me wrong, but he needs to shut up sometimes. But yes, actually, I don't want to get you in trouble, so we're not going to bring that up. I forgot that you're still active duty. But good job. You just saved yourself from an AR-15-6 investigation. I faced a couple of those myself. Hey, we're going to have to stop this, but I want to thank you for coming on. It takes actually a lot of bravery to come on, and because that if somebody were to see this, some people might be like, yeah, man. What's the worst thing you've ever been called, by the way, for being a Republican? Traitor? What? I mean.
No, I don't think it got that deep, because I only surround myself by my family. But people are entitled to their opinion,
Mm-hmm.
People are entitled to but they might say Trump lover, because as of right now, the only thing that the Republican Party have that's, polarizing is President Trump as the president. So.
Well, I as a liberal, and being against, Republican, or whatever, I guess whatever I'm supposed to do, I think that's great that you're yourself. You should just be yourself.
I'm not against Democrats. I'm just Republican.
Well, you know what I mean. I'm on this show, I'm the liberal, so and so I my point is I think that you should just be yourself, and I think that that's a good thing. I think that you're just trying to make your way in the world, and
peace and love.
Peace and love. Hey, Kareem, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
I definitely want to bring you back on more often. We'll talk about that offline and get your perspective on different issues than just race and all that. We did bring you on purposely because you were Black and Republican to talk about the stigma that you felt. Actually, we didn't even really get into that too much, but it was great having a great lively debate. I think Natalie is out of wine. I saw her pour her last glass, and we went well over an hour or so, or a couple minutes. Oh yeah.
Bye, Natalie.
Bye. Thank you.
His daughter got him that. All right. Thank you.
This has been Nightcaps with Nate. Please join Nate for a nightcap every weeknight at 9 Eastern here on Facebook Live.